Hello there. What is going on, everybody? We've got some Z-95 pilots to talk about in the latest X-Wing preview and possibly future Armada hints. Maybe, maybe not. We'll talk about that as well as the release date and points and lots of X-Wing information in today's video. If you guys are new here, a couple of things. First, we are still giving away that $70 Amazon gift card for a Star Wars Legion Shadow Collective kit. Of course, you can use that on whatever you want. If you want a chance to win that, you have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. Second, just want to remind everybody, today is not Revenge of the 5th. Tomorrow is Revenge of the 6th. Today is Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Let's let today be Cinco de Mayo. Let's just let that be. And because look, Revenge of the Sith is S-I-T-H. 6th has only one extra letter. It's just a one letter change. Whereas trying to change Revenge of the 5th to 6th, like there's 2-letter differences there. So that doesn't even make sense. So let's let Cinco de Mayo be Cinco de Mayo, and let's let tomorrow be Revenge of the 6th. That's kind of how that works. And thirdly, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Luxury Playstyle. If you're interested in some amazing tokens for your tabletop games, such as X-Wing or Legion or L5R or Keyforge, any of these, head over to luxuryplaystyle.com. Use code Crabbok VIP. You're going to save 15%, and orders of $35 or more are going to get a free Crabbok lightsaber nunchuck token that you can use to mark high damage counts or light side versus dark side, mark critical hits in X-Wing, mark your commander in Legion, or just use them for your RPGs as light side, dark side points, all kinds of cool stuff. But check out luxuryplaystyle.com. Don't forget to use that code and save 15%. All right, so we got some more Z-95 pilots. I want to talk about something before we jump into the pilots. Release date for these is May 27th, so end of this month. Both the Rogue class and the Z-95 are coming out. And also we should be getting another points update to go along with this. Of course, we will see the Z-95 and the Rogue class points, but there could also be other points rebalancings that may show up at the same time. So for X-Wing players looking for points, that's roughly when that's going to happen. So it'll probably be that Thursday or Friday, close to that May 27th release date. So very, very cool stuff. Let's go ahead and start looking at some of these pilots. So we've got Killer. First off, just a refresher on the Z-95. It's only 2 attack, 2 agility, 2 hull, 2 shields. It has an eyeball for focus. Because you can focus, you can target lock, and you can do a red barrel roll. And the ship itself has the versatile frame ship trait, which says you can equip a torpedo or a missile upgrade. While your revealed maneuver is blue, you add a white boost to your action bar. So kind of similar to the Rogue class in that it's a 2-attack ship that is got some repositionable capability and can have some attacks that are greater than just the 2 primary attack. Right, that's something that we saw recently with the latest Rogue class spoiler, and we're gonna get a little bit of that. We haven't seen, we haven't seen like a really game-changing new missile or torpedo yet that might or may not come here. I don't know if the Z-95 really needs that. There are a pretty good selection of torpedoes and missiles already, but it's interesting with the versatile frame because since that's printed on all of these, they really can't just say, oh, this one can't have a torpedo, because it's like, well, as long as it's got a versatile frame, it can. Of course, they can always just errata some of these pilots, but I don't see that happening just yet. And Killer looks like a pretty cool one for that. So Killer says, while you perform an attack, if the defender has 2 or fewer hull remaining, you may roll 1 additional attack die. If you do, gain a deplete token after rolling attack dice. So first off, gaining a deplete after rolling attack dice, no problem with that. No problem at all. That does mean you either not going to shoot as good next turn or you want to try and do a blue maneuver next turn. But maybe you'll be a little bit predictable. But since these ships kind of want to do blue maneuvers anyway, I figure like that's almost like a no problem, right? And so I like getting an extra attack die. I always like getting that. It kind of makes your 2 attack into potentially a 3 attack, but it doesn't say when you perform a primary attack. So this can work on secondary attacks. So depending on what all this thing has, which presumably is just going to be either a missile or a torpedo. I don't know if we're going to see any that have additional torpedoes or missile options in there to to give you even more loadout options. But if you were to do a torpedo or a missile attack, you're still going to be able to add a die to that if, of course, they have 2 or fewer hull remaining. Now, the interesting thing is Z-95s have only 2 hull. So like any other Z-95 or similar, or any 2 hull ship, you're automatically getting this on. So that he's really going to be good at killing smaller ships like right away. Or larger ships that have lost some hull. He'll be there like as a closer or a finisher, and of course his name is Killer, so there you go. Coming up next at Initiative 3, it's Drift, and Drift is got the ability that says while a friendly ship at range 0 to 1 performs an attack, if you have exactly 1 non-lock red token or exactly 1 orange token, that ship may reroll 1 attack die. And so that's kind of cool because you have the built-in red barrel roll, so you can pretty much maintain you can almost guarantee that you're going to have at least 1 red token if you want at any given point. And so there's also not a limit on this. It's not like once per activation. You don't have to spend a charge to do it. So if you can fly in formation, which is trickier now than ever to do. So this would have been probably a little bit easier to do under 2.0 as opposed to 2.5. But still, the reward is pretty cool here. You're getting free rerolls for everybody, and that's really cool. So he's kind of like almost like your Howl Runner for your swarm, right? And only problem is if you're flying too close in formation, then barrel rolling might put you out of range of some people. So ideally what you'll want to do here is kind of barrel roll into position to maximize your number of successful wingmates that you can then buff. Also kind of would naturally work fairly well with Killer too, because hey, now you're getting a free extra die, and now you're getting a free reroll, so all that's a good stuff. Free stuff is cool, and I like that this can trigger multiple times. Now there's limits to how many times it's going to trigger around. It does say, well, a friendly ship. It doesn't say another friendly ship. So this should also work for yourself as well. So that's kind of cool for Drift, having that kind of lone wolf thing. If he wants to be solo, he'll still get a reroll. So that's kind of cool. Liking it. I'm curious if we're gonna see any new talents or any new stuff that kind of works with Drift. If we're going to see some other cool things that work with being able to give other rerolls, or like more things that give yourself a stress to do something else cool for wingmates to make him into a really good support. So kind of cool. We'll see. And then next we have Stub, the Scrappy Flyer at Initiative 3. And this one is a little bit longer of an ability. As a matter of fact, it's so long of an ability, they did have to kind of shrink down the versatile frame. If you look at these two, you have a certain amount of room for versatile frame. And here they had to shrink it down. It almost kind of cuts off the, almost had to change the format of the card or shrink the font. But here it goes. It says, while you defend, if the speed of your revealed maneuver is even, roll 1 additional defense die. While you perform a primary attack, no, not missile or torpedo here. If the speed of your revealed maneuver is odd, roll 1 additional attack die. So, Stub is cool. I like that. It gives you maybe a little bit of predictability, though, because if it looks like this ship, like maybe you're chasing down Stub, you're like, oh, well, he's probably going to do, he's probably going to do a even, he's going to do at least a 2, either a 2 or a 4. And so now I can kind of predict. I don't think he's going to do like a 1 straight because he's going to be running from me. So that gives you some information, right? And so that's interesting. But if they're coming on the attack, they're probably not doing a 2 or a 4 if you think that they're going to want to shoot. And so, if it's up to me, I'll just plan my moves as normal and see if I get lucky with, maybe I'll be shooting and defending. So either way, one of my maneuvers is still going to do it. So that's pretty cool. All right, and that's it. Oh, no. So I want to talk about Stub a little bit, because in the art for Stub, we have some interesting stuff, some potential things that I want to talk about, because sometimes, I I like a lot of the art, but I really like this art. So let's zoom in a little bit on Stubbs' art. We've got some Umbaran fighters there, which is pretty cool. Now, I don't know if, if AMG is taking cues from like maybe what FFG might have had lined up next, but it could seem like Umbaran fighters are certainly in consideration, right? Like, look, we know that art has sometimes influenced what was coming next, or has been sometimes like a little teaser, a light teaser for things to come. This has been the case in the past, although it's not always the case. And it was more commonly the case in the early waves of X-Wing, and less commonly the case as time went on and on and on. We've seen things that have never come, and we've seen some things that have. But it's kind of cool. It makes you think that maybe the FFG folks, when they had this commissioned, were considering Umbaran fighters, or they just wanted to get something thematic from that particular story arc in the Clone Wars. But so that it's certainly a possibility, and of course, it's not the art that would even dictate that anyway, because this just stands to reason that it's a possible ship that could fit into X-Wing that happens to fall within the timeline of the Clone Wars, and is at least a little recognizable, and actually has a particularly cool design. But the Armada player in me, remember at the beginning of the video I talked about Armada, is drawn to this big old ship right here, the Separatist supply ship, which is a very cool ship. It's a very large ship too, so I just grabbed a different screen grab of it. It's kind of cool to see the Separatist supply ship in the card art when, it's so prominently featured too. So this kind of leads me to believe that this was definitely a ship in consideration for among the Clone Wars crew that was working on Star Wars Armada over at Fantasy Flight, when all of this was and maybe initially commissioned. And so it makes me think, boy, the Separatist supply ship would certainly be a good ship in Armada. Maybe it's something that's in consideration, especially if there are already art assets for it. It certainly was featured a lot in the Clone Wars, did not really show up prominently in the films, but at least not in episode 2. It was created during the Clone Wars, so it wasn't in 2 or 3. But it initially was supposed to be like a Lucre Hulk in one episode, but they said no, let's change it because it's not a trade federation, so let's have some other type of supply ship come in instead, so it doesn't look like it's the Trade Federation helping. But it seems like it could be, and hear me out, for people who play Armada, usually your support type ships tend to be small ships, tend to be small, cheap ships. But does that always have to be the case? So my thought is, what if we were to do a large base, what if they were to do a large base ship that was primarily a support ship? I feel like that's a lot more likely in the wake of the rapid reinforcements wave that we just got, since you kind of have this Rebel Providence that is kind of half and half attack ship and support ship. It's like it's got great stats but has no upgrades for attack or defense. All of its upgrades lead itself to support. So you could do something kind of like that, but that would be maybe more of a pure support. Now, it does have some point defense cannons on it. It definitely has, the ability to defend off fighters. So I could see this being a ship with, a pretty respectable anti-squadron armament, but very, very low to medium, if any, anti-ship batteries. So almost like a flotilla's kind of armament, with stronger anti-squadron battery on a large base, and its profile is built to be a support ship, and maybe a really good support ship. And because it has so little dice in the terms of anti-ship weaponry, then perhaps it's actually very reasonably priced. It could be a very cheap large ship. It could be potentially like an 80-point large ship, or maybe even a 75-point large ship. I don't know if they would actually do that, but why not? There's not a rule in stone that says you can't do that. It could actually be more of a liability because of the fact that it could, it's so big and it's supporting, but you have to fly around it, so you might bump your own ship and stuff like that. So it'd be very interesting, and it certainly could definitely be a decent carrier. And that would if it was, then that could raise the cost up. So you could do two versions. You could do a carrier variant and a support variant has like very low, like maybe only 1 squadron value, maybe 2, because they can, some of the squadrons for the Separatists can go on the outside. I don't know. I'm theory crafting quite a bit. Kind of interested to see how the Separatist supply ship would work in Armada. Of course, we don't know that this is coming yet, but it is reasonable to suggest that it's certainly a possibility and may have at least been in consideration at some point. So I always thought that was kind of cool, especially when we see it in groovy art like this. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you all are having a fantastic day. And as we approach the weekend, I just want you all to be safe, get some gaming in. Don't forget to call your moms. Hopefully you're already mailed off a card or are making plans to do some kind of brunch or breakfast or do something nice for your moms, because Mother's Day is almost here. And why am I reminding people so much? Because it's important. Moms are important. And so call your mom, hug your mom, tell your mom how much they mean to you and how grateful you are for all of the difficulty they had to put up with by raising you. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are absolutely amazing and help make this channel possible. Don't forget to always wash your feet, always wear your socks, and always rock and roll like a roller coaster. Doesn't even make sense.